HideOut Podcast.
Welcome to the Gabby Grace Podcast. This podcast is going to be raising awareness for people who feel left out and people who are told that they are different and people who don't think they fit into this world. Welcome to the second episode of my podcast. This episode is based on autism. Thank you so much for all of the support on social media for my first podcast. And thank you to everyone in HideOut for giving me this opportunity. What is autism? Every person has some difficulties and some strengths. Autism is a diagnosis that means people may have difficulties with their communication and social interaction. They may engage in repetitive behaviours, routines and activities. People with autism see, hear and experience the world differently. They have difficulties with communicating and interacting with other people, and this can make daily life very challenging. Autism is an identity, and as well as presenting challenges, there can be lots of strengths. There are many people who have very successful careers with autism, and autism can be a benefit. Some examples that can be strengths are attention to detail, creativity, special interest or expertise, the ability to absorb and keep facts, and they approach situations in a novel way, which means they think of ideas that are different and never thought of before. I have chosen to raise awareness on autism because I want people to see how autistic people see the world, and that it's hard for them to manage their emotions. I have a friend, Jaden, who is autistic, and it's hard for him to manage his emotions sometimes. How other people can see the person that has the the autism is that other people might see the condition first before they actually see their personality, which I think is a big problem because people would be judging the person with autism who has it. They would judge them on the condition without looking at their personality. It will probably make them feel down and just depressed, and they just might think that they might they don't fit in. It might make them feel different because if people are judging other people on what they've got, if they judge them on the autism, the condition that they see, and not their personality, it will just make them feel 10 times worse with the condition that they've already got. Level 1 autism spectrum disorder. The term Asperger's syndrome is no longer considered an official diagnosis but is still widely used in the autism community. Stimming. Stimming is repetitive or unusual movements or noises. Stimming seems to help some autistic children and teenagers manage their emotions and cope with overwhelming situations. If stimming affects children in negative ways, you can look at ways to reduce their needs to stim. Common examples of stimming include biting your fingernails, twirling your hair around your fingers, cracking your knuckles and other joints, drumming your fingers, tapping your pencil, jiggling your foot or whistling. Autism spectrum disorder is a condition related to the brain development that affects how a person perceives and socializes with others, causing problems in social interaction and communication. The disorder also includes limited and repetitive patterns of behaviour. It affects neurotypicals and neurodiverse individuals alike. Many people with autism have trouble understanding social nuances and sarcasm. The trauma from being bullied can be devastating and long-lasting, especially.
So, hey, I'm Shannon.
She's from HideOut Youth Zone, and I'm just going to be interviewing her on autism. So, Shannon, the first question I want to know is, how does autism affect people from getting jobs?
So, autism often affects people getting jobs in the sense that in the world, autism isn't really talked about. It's often seen as a very male thing, and when people hear someone that say they're autistic, they're like, whoa, not gonna. But kind of interviews are very hard for people who are autistic. because you don't necessarily know the social cues and how people want you to react, or when people ask a question, like in interviews, they want you to be broad and actually just like go round this question and subject rather than actually answering like directly. They want wider information rather than it just being a very narrow path. Like, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like with autism, like on YouTube, what people can other people watch to get like information or advice about autism?
So for me, when I was going through the process of getting tested to being autistic, one of the main people that I was watching the Aspie World a lot. And basically, it's a guy called Dan who has Asperger's, autism, ADHD, dyslexia, OCD. And he basically talks about what autism is, how it affects people, how actually people go about it in day-to-day life, and actually how to go about getting tested. But there's a person called Cher Davis, who is a female with autism, who is another amazing person. She's a tattoo artist. She basically does amazing art. She talks about actually getting a diagnosis when she was 25 for being autistic, and actually the struggles that she has with it as well. There's a lot. Those are the two that I can remember off the top of my head, but there's so much more if you just look. There's the autism pastor, there's there's so many different things and different accounts and different people who basically talk about what it is.
And with the YouTube thing, is there also websites that people can go on to get more information about autism, like if they've got an autistic friend and they want to know more?
So, yeah, the National Autistic Society is the UK, is the best website to go on, or ASAN, which is the Autistic Support Something Network, basic advocacy network, basically where they both put autistic people at the forefront, and they're the ones who are actually talking and sharing, because there's some where it's where there is information where it's not great. So Autism Speaks is not a good website to look at because they don't put autistic voices first.
And the last question I want to know is, I'm just going to switch the question up a bit. So the last question I want to know is, can people get some sort of medicine or something for autism? Or is it just therapy or something like stress toys or something to help with the autism?
It varies on person to person. So I'm not actually on medication for being autistic, but I'm on medication for anxiety that comes with being autistic. And that's very different to being, but because there isn't actually as such medication, because autism is just a way that your brain functions and how you perceive the world, rather than you can't get medicated for the way you see your world. Whereas there are stuff that you can use to help you so you can go through day to day. So I'll wear ear defenders.
Like people with sensory issues with autism, or even without sensory issues with autism, do they have fidget toys or something just to help them concentrate properly, and ear defenders, for instance?
Yeah. So I wear ear defenders because I have hypersensitivity to noise.
Doesn't that mean your ears are you can hear things a lot more clearly than other people and it's a bit too loud?
Yeah. it's like I can hear often the electricity buzzing through the wires.
Wow, that is actually, I never knew that. Like, I just thought that they could just hear like everything loud. I never knew that. Like you could hear like electricity and stuff.
Yeah, like electricity buzzes. It's very high pitched.
And is it pretty annoying?
It is very annoying. But yeah, it also like with ear defenders, it kind of reduces it a bit. Just because actually, for me, the world is a bit overwhelming, and sometimes I just need to focus on one person rather than the bird that's tweeting, like the 50 other different conversations happening, the electricity, the fact that there is a siren going across the road.
All that at once, that's just like hectic. So, and thank you for coming onto my podcast, Shannon, and speaking about autism. And I just want to say to everyone that thanks so much for listening to my podcast and tuning in. I do hope that you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the next episode. Before I go, all I want to say is that the websites that we mentioned and the YouTube channels we mentioned, you can always go on them. And if you're like someone who like needs to speak to someone, you could also go on like Childline, and there's also like on the Childline website, and there's also like autism like helplines that you could call or like message or go on the website. That's everything. Thank you for listening. Bye.